We're live events, so it's live. So there's no way anything is a one-off. Because we're live, anything can happen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of In the Unlikely Event. I am Rick Kiley, founding partner of Soho Experiential, your host of this podcast. Today, we'll be speaking with highly accomplished event producer Glenn Charles about not one, but two shows he produced with the Armory here in New York City. As the president and CEO of Show Strategy, a comprehensive general services contractor that produces some of the largest trade shows, art fairs, live events, and experiences in the world, Glenn leads a dynamic and diverse team of professionals who deliver exceptional results for his clients. Okay, Glenn, I want to set up the pair of unlikely events we're talking about today. When it comes to events in New York City, there are several challenges to navigate. People, permitting, weather, traffic, bureaucracy. If you can do an event here, you can do one anywhere. Glenn Charles, through his ongoing relationship with the Armory Show, a huge annual art fair, had the privilege of producing their event at Pier 92 in Manhattan on multiple occasions. We're going to talk about some of the things that went wrong. It's obvious that he handled the chaos well, as the Armory Show is still one of his clients today. Glenn, welcome to In the Unlikely Event.
Good morning or afternoon, Rick, depending on where you are. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here. Before we jump in on the event, can you tell us a little bit more about your agency and what you do today? And then, I'd like to sort of end with what your role was at the time of producing these events, if it was any different.
Well, we consider ourselves a bespoke general services contractor, live event contractor. So we build live events, trade shows, experiences, brand activations, and conventions all around the country. We're based in Chicago, just opened up a location here in Miami, Florida. And New York, honestly, has been the foundation of our business. I started my career basically in New York City with the show in question right now. But yeah, we built a lot of cool stuff. Our most notable thing we've built to date is the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. I was the first minority prime contractor for a political convention to date.
Awesome.
So it was a great experience.
That sounds awesome. So your role, you're the president and CEO right now of Show Strategy. When you were producing these events that we're talking about, so we're going a few years back, was that your role then with the company?
No, I was actually an employee for the company that owned the Armory Show. So I ran the trade show division for the company that owned it then. So ultimately I left and started my own business, and it became a client.
Nice.
Which I think is a great thing, a testament to my resolve.
Absolutely. I love the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah,
that's great. Let's get a rundown of what the Armory Show is, because I'm sure not everybody knows what it is. And then what your role was in producing it. I don't know. I don't know if it changed from time to time, because I know you've done it over the years, but especially we're going to talk about the first ones here at Pier 92. So at that point, what was the event and what was your role in producing it?
So the Armory Show is probably one of the most notable art fairs in the world, catering to modern and contemporary art. It's a legacy fair in New York City. It's very notable in the art industry. And at the time that I was involved in this show, my job was me and my team, we were responsible for everything, venue sourcing. So everything from 0 up to 100 back down to 0. So managing security, managing cleaning, managing the build of the art fair, managing the galleries, the installs, any special projects, exterior signage, et cetera. So you name it, permitting with the city. So everything relative to getting to open, our team was management for the overall production of the Armory Show.
Can we get a sense of the scale of this event? So when you're talking an art show, my vision is I walk into an art gallery that maybe, the size, I don't know, various sizes, but not huge. I have museums in my mind that are larger, of course, so how many people are exhibiting? How big is the space? How many pieces of art? What are we talking about here?
So we're probably in just grand talking, we built the museum. So
Okay.
150,000 square feet over
Okay.
200,000 square feet over two buildings, over 200 art galleries, the most notable art galleries in the world. Works of art, I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you that thousands. So at one point in time, I think we loaded in 98 trailers of freight just for art. So yeah, so it's by all means, it's a huge museum that galleries come in, they buy real estate, and then they show their works outside of their galleries to the
Right.
community. We get 40 plus thousand attendees annually over the
Wow.
4-day period. So it's a pretty big deal in New York City.
And both of these events that we're talking about, they happened at Pier 92. Can you say a little bit just about like where Pier 92 is, what it is, so people get a sense of we have a lot of artwork that's basically over water.
Right. So Pier 92, 94 are on 50, between 52nd and 55th and 12th Avenue, right on the Hudson. They were once upon a time event venues, so they hosted events. So Pier 92 is actually on the ground. So it's and Pier 94 is on the ground. Pier 92 was also a cruise ship terminal, so it was elevated above the water. So we built the show on 94 and 92. At one point in time, the differentiation between the piers was one was modern art and one was contemporary, and so that was kind of the separation. And for those who don't know, that's the living and the dead. So modern contemporary.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that that's how they divided it up. Thank you. I learned something today.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So then let's go back to this first Armory show. This is the one that I'm just calling tenting challenge.
Okay.
We're talking about two piers, 200,000 square feet. You are creating a museum essentially from scratch. You're building the infrastructure. Can you talk to me about what the flow of events to get this thing ready was supposed to be?
So we have a 14-day schedule to build the art fair. So just let's work backwards from. So we have 3 days to tear it down. It's generally it was a 5-day event, and then everything on the front end of that is built. So we allow about 2 days for exhibitors to set up, galleries to come in and set up and hang their works, and then everything on the front end of that is building. So 6 days of build. So that means all the walls, etc.
Wow. Okay. 6 days of build and fabrication and construction, load in, all that sort of stuff. Sorry, fabrication came first, but 6 days of installation, 5 days of activation, and 3 days of teardown.
Correct.
All right. So we're going back to this first one where not everything went according to plan. It sounds like you probably have to have a pretty detailed plan to do all this over 6 days. Let's start getting to like what happened here. When did you start to realize that not everything was going to plan?
Right.
I think the phrase you used with me in our initial conversation, I'm not sure we're going to make it, something along those lines. So tell us when the twist happened.
So you got to understand how we got there first.
Yeah, please.
We brought in an architect who we started trying to visualize a better arrival experience for Pier 92, 94. The front of the pier just didn't look appetizing, and they wanted to have a better and bigger impact. So the idea came that, hey, let's build these two tents on the front of Pier 94. One would be a restaurant, and one would be the new registration in this big entry lounge area, right? And
Got it.
Pier 94 doesn't have a dock. So in all of the freight is ground unloaded. So here I have to build a tent basically starting at 5 p.m. when the gallery freight stops, and have it ready by 11, which is Wednesday, a show open.
So we got 12 or 17 hours.
Correct.
Right.
And so as planned, we did our pre-production meeting. The tent vendor arrives and we talk through everything. We walk outside, we do the layout. Everybody measures twice and cuts once. And
all right.
we think we have it. And so they get to going on the tent. And so we're building a restaurant tent. Let's call it the restaurant tent and the registration tent. So we start building the restaurant tent first. And granted, we're building a restaurant overnight, and the restaurant still needs to load in and set it up like a fully functioning restaurant.
Right.
And it was a very notable restaurant in New York City that was going to be in that tent.
It wasn't Chipotle. It
No,
was,
not at all.
yeah. Okay.
Not at all. So we start building the tents, right? And everything is it's not moving fast, but it's moving along. I should say, like, I think during that day it was probably 60, 70 degrees, and that night it dropped down to like 27, 28. So
Whoa.
it was below freezing. So it got pretty cold that night, it was very strange, but nobody said a thing to me that was going to impact anything. So they started building the tent. And, every hour or so, I would just walk out every 30 minutes or so. I walk out and I would just measure progress. I say, hey, okay, it took them 20 minutes to get this section up. It took them 30 minutes to get this section up. Anyway, fast forward, it's getting late. And so I'm realizing that I got a full crew of people there. We've been there since 6 a.m. and it's probably 11 o'clock. We're going into 12. And I'm like, all right, we start flipping coins, like who's staying and who's going.
Okay.
And so ultimately I lost and I stayed. I said, you all go, I'll stay, and I'll see that we get the tents up. See you guys back here at 6 a.m.
Okay.
And so I meet with the foreman from the tent company and I say, hey man, how are we doing? I don't see much action on the registration tent. What's going on? And he said, well, it's cold and you guys have clear tops. And the clear tops are brand new and they're not broken in. And so we're having a hard time, pulling the vinyl through the channels. So I'm like, okay. He's like, well, we got a solution and we're bringing a whole new crew in. I'm like, now it's 1 a.m.
Right.
How much time do you need? So we got to build it. I got carpenters coming who need to put carpet down. We got to furnish it. We got to hang light fixtures.
Right.
He said, man, I'll be done by 9 a.m. And so I started doing the math in my head and I walked away and I went and sat down and I think I dozed off into La La Land and I woke up and it's like 5 a.m.
Right.
And I walk outside and the tent is almost in the same condition it was before I walked out. And I said, tear the tent down. So it was probably 65%.
Just like that. You were like,
yeah, I said, tear it down.
So you were just like, we are not going to make it.
It was simple math for me at that point. I'm like, you're not going to build 50% of the tent in 3 hours. And I still have work. I have work to do beyond just the structure. Right. And so once I convinced them that I wasn't joking, that he needed to tear the tent down.
Yeah, how did they take it? I was like, if you're working all night trying to make the new vinyl go through the flaps or whatever you were talking about, like
I think everybody involved looked at it as a failure because there was so much conversation and so much coordination involved with making it happen. And so in the midst of doing all of that, it's 6 years and my team is walking across 12th Avenue and they're looking at me like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, we're not going to make it.
So the team comes back at 6 a.m. well rested.
Correct. Right. And I'm not, clearly. And so
what the hell, man?
Right. So I'm tearing the tent down and I'm like, well, we need to work on plan B. And they're like, what's plan B? I'm like, I don't have a plan B, but plan A definitely didn't work. And so I said, you guys take everything outside and get the guys going on building the registration inside, and I'll stand on the outside and make sure all of this gets cleaned up. And so the proudest moment for me of this whole thing is like Pier 94 had these bike rack gates, right? And nobody could open them until I gave the word. And so now it's nearing to like 10:45 and cabs are lining up and people are standing at the gate and everybody has a push broom and it was like an imaginary curtain, like they were pushing. And I get this, hey boss, should I open the gate? And I'm like, yes, open the gate. And the very first cab that pulls in is my client.
Of course. Client's always there right on time.
Right. And so he walks in and I'm like, hey, I need to talk to you about something. And we're walking. So mind you, we walk through what should have been the tent.
Right.
we walked in Pier 94 and I'm like, we had to tear the tent down. I'm like, the guys struggled last night. They weren't going to make it. And so I made the decision to tear the tent down. And then we relocated registration back to almost basically what it used to be, no impact to gallery spaces. And he said, you made a great decision. I'm glad you made the decision to do that. It would have been embarrassing for us to show up with a half-built tent.
Right.
And the flip side of this, the
Awesome.
galleries never even knew that that was supposed to be
Great.
an amenity. And so taught me a lot in that moment about that
Awesome.
experience.
And you made a decision. You were able to pull it off. Client didn't care.
You know what I think it is though? It's like the art world. If you read the art world, and even around that period, the Armory Show and a lot of art fairs were under a lot of scrutiny, and
Yeah.
so they couldn't afford any bad press. And so,
Right.
sure, he was disappointed, but I think more than anything, he appreciated that he saved himself and the fair from embarrassment
Yeah.
of people pulling up, and the tent is half built. It looks like maybe it was a skeleton. Imagine
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
No, that would have
Right.
you can't.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So it was just he was very happy that I
Yeah.
made the decision.
Yeah.
It ended up being one of the best years from an attendance perspective, gallery participation,
Yeah.
artwork purchase. Like it was a great, but it was a
Yeah.
terrible
So
first experience.
the participants were happy, the attendees were happy, people saw the artwork, the event came
Yep.
off. So like it's
Right.
one of those great scenarios, I think, where there's chaos behind the scenes, but where it matters for the participants and for everyone else, they just still see beautiful event. And that's awesome.
Things can happen behind the curtain, but if we can get it to a point where our clients are masked from it and our attendees never even knew what was going to happen, then I think it's still a slight success.
No, it's great. No, it's definitely a success. I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's the entropy of the world. And I appreciate you giving a little like peek behind the curtain so people can understand what's really required, because I think the
right,
story that you told, like, it sounds like one of those things that you'd make into a movie like Apollo 13 or something. It's just like this little thing went wrong and we were prepared for this, or the weather changed and like all of a sudden these things add up and here you are having to deal with this issue. Uh, I'm
right.
just I'm just curious though, before we start talking about the other one, did that experience with the planning and how it rolled out and having to make that change, did that impact how you approached these events in the future?
It impacted how I approach events. It impacted how I manage my team. It impacts this type of discussions that I have with my clients when we're doing planning, depending on where they are, what type of facility they're working out of, right? So we think totally different now because there's always a what if. I've learned how
Right.
to stagger coverages better on with my team based on the different scopes of work we have with our clients, but it's a hard conversation to have with a client when you say, well, what if something happens to X? What do you want us to do? And so
Right.
then I say, what's the most important thing? What are you trying to solve for in this experience? Okay, what if this happens that prevents that? And so understanding that and then giving them some viewpoints as to here's some alternative solutions. So that's kind of how we manage in my office. If this, then that.
Great.
Right. And so we say the same with our clients.
You find your clients are receptive to that kind of thinking, or are they like, well, that can't happen? Do you ever get a, well, that one can't happen?
Well, then you give them the story. Everybody is going to tell you it can't happen,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, yeah, nobody wants it to happen.
Right, right, right.
We're still solving for X, but
Yeah.
sometimes
Okay.
we end up with Y. So yeah, it's rare, but this was a rare, super
Yeah.
rare top tent company in the country.
Sure.
Like hands down, like you would have never thought that this would be an issue, right? And
Yeah.
so and we've done it before on a smaller scale. We just got
Yeah.
ambitious and I think also is like manpower and money can't fix everything. That's another lesson I learned it. I taught that with my clients.
So if this wasn't enough, Glenn likes to come back for more pain. Let's keep doing events on a pier. Let's make it harder. You had a different challenge at another Armory show. This was 2019. Can you walk us through what happened at this one? So this wasn't a tenting issue. This was something else.
This was a facility issue on Pier 92. As I mentioned before, Pier 92 is a cruise ship terminal that's elevated above the water. So structurally, the building sits on wood piles that are submerged in the water. And so, typical to the same schedule I gave you, not on 94, but on 92, we built the show, and we got all the way to a day before gallery load in, and we were notified that there was an inspection that needed to happen or didn't happen, which would restrict certain areas of the facility from building on. But at this point, we were already built. And so
Oh, you were already built. You've already built
we,
the thing on the pier.
right, we really didn't have a lot of real estate to reconfigure. And so we ultimately ended up, they had restricted areas that we couldn't build on. And so we found those restricted areas once they identified them. And then we tore down the booths in those areas and essentially built booths around the perimeter of those, and then eliminated basically restaurant space and just lounge space and turned them into gallery space.
Sorry. Man,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah.
All right. So this is again. So I'm just trying to do the math here. So we have the whole show's 200,000 square feet, as you said, across 2 piers. So 100,000 on one of these piers. How much couldn't you? Like, did you have to relocate? It was part of it, you said. So
that's the funny thing about it. It was not a block of area, right? It was like, okay, if the column, let's say a column bay is 20 by 20, it was like you walk into the pier and it's like, okay, between columns 17 and 18, you can't have nothing. Then you walk to the back of the pier, and then they're like, all right, on the east side, north side, between. So it was spotty. It was like between columns
like
27.
It was like a jigsaw puzzle. You had to take
Correct.
pieces out of the pier.
Correct.
You couldn't just like cut off the half, like in the back or anything.
We were not that lucky. So, it's funny. The good thing about it is like the city made a wise decision to say, because they're not inspected, or they weren't before we got in, and we don't know the condition, you can't build them in the area, right? So I think that was the saving grace.
Yeah. So what did you do? So what did you do? So with the stuff that you had to move, where did you move it?
We moved it in areas that were typically common areas. So the show built restaurants and lounges and bookstores and all of that stuff. And majority of that stuff went away. We have booths in areas closer to the front. Like you walked in a pier, you didn't walk right into galleries. Well, in this year, when you walked in, it was welcome to the Armory Show. You're here. So so yeah, it just changed the dynamic of, and so if you understand galleries, like galleries, they don't just create, or most of them just don't have a box. They build their, or customize their booths according to the type of works they're gonna hang. And so this created a real big challenge for some of the galleries, because their booth may have been smaller than they initially thought it was, or bigger, or the wall was shorter than they thought it was. So it took a lot of hand holding from my team, the Armory Show team, to to try to reach out and contact these galleries who had ship works, etc., and let them know that unfortunately we had to modify your booth due to some unforeseen conditions at the facility.
I'm imagining they weren't thrilled.
It was the worst.
Again, so you had to pull this off in a day, right?
We made it happen, man. So we made it happen.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you know if the show reached its goals? Like you've been working on this show many, many years, but did the galleries, still sell the amount of art that they wanted? Did you still get the same amount of attendees even with the change that was required?
They did. All right. And so it goes right back to the tenant almost, right? So the galleries were impacted, some of them, so they knew. The attendee arriving had no idea about the modifications. They probably strategically think we had areas boxed off, and strategically we hung artwork on some walls, that were, well, we created a boundary for a perimeter. So again, so it's a different perspective, but in this case, the galleries were impacted. The attendees still had no clue.
That's amazing. Okay. So I guess one of the questions I have is like, I know that you are still working with this client today,
Mhm.
and I noticed that the event is not being produced at the Pier anymore. Last time I saw it, it seems like it was being done at the Javits Center. Was there a decision to move it away from the Pier just because of the the nature of it being outdoors or on water, or the bureaucracy? Was what entered into that change?
Nope. Obviously, post COVID, um, Pier 94 is a movie studio now. The owners made a decision to relocate it to a facility that they know wasn't going anywhere. They was less likely to have, any issues from a structural perspective, et cetera. It was one location that can fit all the galleries versus being split between two piers. So I think it was a business decision that
Right.
ultimately paid off tenfold for them.
Yeah, because that show is still going strong today.
Stronger. Yes.
Stronger. How big are
Yes.
how big is it now?
We're in a 300,000 square feet hall now. So
Up and up and up. Awesome.
yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So look, when you think about these two events, the tent that never stood and the pier that was, well, I want to say the pier that sank, but I know that didn't happen. But I'm just going to say it's the pier that sank. Um, what does it say sort of about this industry, the entropy and these pieces that are outside of your control? Do you find that this is just now we all have to believe that these are elements that we have to plan for at all times? Is it, do you think it's once in a lifetime sort of experiences? Like how do you kind of view these experiences within the context of your broad um body of work?
We're in live events, so it's live. So there's no way anything is a one off. Because we're live, anything can happen. What I've learned and what I try to tell everybody is a couple of things. One, you always got to be armed with some type of resolve. So when an issue comes up, you have to be solutions based and figure out the best and most efficient way to resolve it. The second thing is because we're live, we're always up against time. And so when it says the show opens at 11 o'clock, it's not like we're going to be like, yep, you know what? We're just going to open at 7.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's opening at 11. And
Yeah.
so whatever you need to do to get to 11, you have to be prepared for that. But the time doesn't change, right? And that's what I remind everybody of, like resolve, solutions, not problems. So it would have been a different story if I called my client that morning and
Right.
said, hey, I got a problem. I didn't even have time, 30 minutes of talking through it on the phone with him. We would have not made the 11 o'clock opening. So I'm like, I had to lean on
Right.
uh, just my own expertise of being able to walk out and look at something and do a simple math problem in my head and say, we may not make it. And honestly, that now that's the best tool that I teach everybody to learn how to estimate, learn how to project management, et cetera. One, just ask the question, but two, like I tell everybody to find, if Rick is your guy, and you walk and you talk to Rick when you walk on a job site and say, hey, Rick, what you working on today? You tell him what I'm working on. Man, how long does this normally take? And you're going to tell on yourself. And you leave Rick alone. And then every time you walk around, you look at Rick and see where Rick is. Is he moving, making progress, or is he not? You know what I mean? So there are certain things that you can do to really gauge timing. If somebody's moving slow intentionally, or they just don't get it, or man, we're not going to make it.
Yeah. I think I like one thing you really said there that I think is obviously an excellent quality of yours, and I'm just gonna say nice things about it because I think it's a quality that other people need to emulate in this business. And I'm not sure everyone does because there's a lot of fear there, right? If you're on a job and you're doing work for a client and you need to make a decision that's a big decision, that's a departure from a plan, I think a lot of people's default is, well, I want to make sure I get permission to do this before I go forward. And what I heard from you was, I recognized that I didn't even have time to get permission. And I just had to take the leap that I knew that this was right. I had to believe in myself and I had to take the risk that, you could have been chewed out later for making that decision, right? Like, I'm sure there's part of you who's like, that could happen. But I think, being able to take that quick action in the moment and put your own reputation on the line, so to speak, is tremendously valuable. I commend you for it because it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of trust also in the clients that you're working for. So it sounds like you probably were also working with good people, which
Correct.
I'm extrapolating on that because no one can make like that decision when they have the fear of like a hatchet over them. I love people who work in this business because I find that all of them tend to be the people who are successful are people who are willing to do that. They're people who are willing to risk their own personal reputation in order to make this event happen, in order to get to 11 a.m., in order to make the curtain go up. And if it goes wrong, they'll accept accountability for their choices. And I just think like good for you. Like
Thank
it's
you.
obviously
You gotta live. You got to live with the risk. It's like you said, like put it another way. Like I'm very brand conscious. So the client is not the only one that's at risk. You're at risk also if it looks bad. And
yeah,
so if you make that decision, for me, my client said, "I'm glad you've always had my back.
yeah,
Like, thank you for having my back." He thought I saved his life. Ultimately,
right,
like, dude, it'd been a catastrophe,
right,
right? And so the narrative would have changed. I can't
yeah,
believe you didn't tear the tent down.
yeah. And
So it's like,
I'm guessing how you solved that problem helped cement the long-standing relationship that you have with that client. I bet you refer
that's
back
correct.
to that to this day.
To
To
this
this
day.
day, how we show up in our darkest moments and in where the biggest challenges happen, define and create the opportunity for the greatest successes. And this is just like, to me, such a great success story that probably born out of these challenges, you show that you were the person that could do this job and have created a long-standing relationship with a client. How long have you worked on with the Armory Show now?
Since 2007. So
So we're
yeah,
talking an
man.
18-year client.
Yep.
That's
On it.
unfathomable. Like people don't
Yeah.
have clients that long, and that's you should be really commended for it. That's tremendous. I'm so
Thank
happy
you. Thank you.
for you. If we can retain clients that long, I consider ourselves extremely lucky. So that's just tremendous work. Um, awesome. Well, look, I've already like waxed poetic about this, but like I just think before we wrap up, any other lessons from this that you think people should know about leadership or knowing when to pivot or risk management? Is there anything else that you think that people who might be listening might work in the industry should take away from this?
I would say our motto in our business is so we embed ourselves in our clients' brand. So we want our clients to fall in love with us. So, we're successful because the participants in our clients' experiences, they ask, are we involved? Right. And so when you embed yourself in your client's brand, you get a true understanding of what their objectives are, what their company morals are, right? And so you will be in a better position to make risky decisions on their behalf. And you should also ask the client, like, what is your pain tolerance for me making decisions, right? I'm not going to spend your money, like it's not yours. I'm gonna spend it like it's mine. So
Yeah,
first of all, I'm never gonna put your money at risk,
yeah,
right? So, but what is your pain tolerance for me making decisions without your approval, particularly those that are time sensitive, right? And
that's great advice.
you should be candid. That should be on your questionnaire to all clients. Like, what do I need to come to you for? How much of your money can I spend? Right? Without calling you.
Yeah,
Right.
no,
So
it's great advice. Yeah,
yeah, so that's it, man. It's really simple. I think customer service is like the DNA to all success. Like we've only lost one client since I've been in business, and it's a client that I ultimately walked away from. All of our clients have been our clients since we started our business, and it's because of that we're embedded in their DNA.
that's tremendous. Congrats on your success and congrats on everything that you guys are doing so well. We have one question that we are ending all these interviews with. Given how insane this business is, given that you have overnight stays and tents that don't get set up, given all the chaos and insanity, why do you keep doing it?
I love it, man. It's it's like I think events to me are like going to foreign countries. Like
Okay.
it's something different every time. And then you like imagine you like put your all into something. It becomes your baby. And then you meet, you talk about it all day, freaking Zooms and emails and color confirmations. And is it black? Is it white? Is it green? 8 foot tall? Then you build it. and you start falling in love. Really, then they come in and they love it. And you're like, wow, this was great. Then you tear it down. You're like, shit, all of this went into that and it's out. And then now you try to recreate that thing again. Like I can create something so cool, so fast, tear it down. And now I want to go do another cooler thing. It's like a car, So I like ideating and I like building something. I like seeing people love the creation and then you tear it down and you kind of memorialize what it was to get to that point. And then it's like what's next? I like the what's next in live events. Like how do we do better than that?
I love that.
So,
I love that. That's great
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that is where we're going to leave it today. Glenn, thank you so much for joining us and sharing these stories with us. And thanks for being an awesome and exemplary event pro who combines careful planning and real-time problem solving, makes all your events successful. I love it. I'm Rick Kiley. This has been In the Unlikely Event. We'll see you next time.
Have a good day, Rick. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to In the Unlikely Event, where we unpack the moments that went wrong and celebrate the people who made them right. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And hey, while you're at it, drop us a review or share this episode with a fellow event pro who's been through their own little disaster. You can catch more great content by following Unlikely Event on YouTube, Unlikely Event Pod on Instagram and TikTok, and Soho EXP on LinkedIn. I'm Rick Kiley, and I'll see you next time, right here on In the Unlikely Event.